in strikes. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this evening's meeting of the Taunton Town Council. I would like to advise everyone present that should the fire alarm sound, you should leave the building immediately via one of the fire exits, which are clearly signposted outside this committee room. Please only use the stairs, do not use the lift. The fire assembly point is in the staff car park at the rear of the Deane house. You should not return to the building for any reason until you have been advised that it is safe to do so. Can I remind everyone to please put your mobile phone on silent mode and keep the phone away from the microphones to minimise interference. The meeting will be recorded and live webcast, and therefore when speaking, please remember to speak clearly into your microphone. As the chair of the meeting, I have the discretion to terminate or suspend recording and webcasting if, in my opinion, continuing to do so would prejudice the proceedings of the meeting. Recording and webcasting of confidential items will also not take place. Please remember, if you leave the meeting room for any reason, you will not be able to take part in the vote on the item being discussed at that time. Please can I request that when speaking, you make your points as succinct as possible to allow for the smooth running of the meeting. Please can I also take this opportunity to remind you to be polite and treat each other with respect at all times. For members of the public wishing to use the toilets, these can be found off the landing immediately outside the committee room. Can I request that anyone who has brought a cup or glass into the committee room, please can you return it to the kitchen area after the meeting is finished. Thank you. Before we start the meeting proper, we have public question time, and we have notice of a member of the public who wishes to speak, Mr. Roger House of the Victoria Farm Action Group.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm representing the Victoria Park Action Group tonight, and it's regards agenda item number 11, the urban tree planting scheme. Thank you for the draft copy of the tree planting proposed in Victoria Park. Some interest has been generated by the tree report suggesting a new avenue of trees midway across the sports field, currently a clear open space. We think the officers involved have not been aware of the extent of the plain surfaces report. By virtue of their levelness, drainage and central position, they are the town's best community border. We supplied Craig data with a scale drawing showing that will pitch there based on gross pitch sizes from the auditing document. Now these are recent examples of where pitching could be. In future, you may want to have other sports pitching. We have changing sports activities from rugby or cricket to now the key boilers American football. The central area just has space for 2 football pitches, but currently we have only junior football or informal nationals. Previous owners of the playing field have had sport policies to maximise sporting activities. In our 2015-16 feasibility study for improvements to the early public toilets and hall, we were asked by the council to include additional female referees room, so the 4 changing spaces will be used by both male and female sports teams. We hope that this council still has the will to maximise grass sport use and bring back that adult league football. Proposed avenue of trees shown by green dots linked to the entrance to Priory Avenue. But the pedestrians are there then use a diagonal route across the pitching line. The main pedestrian route is a road pitching for dogs, which to some degree keeps dogs off the playing surface. The area between the avenue and the American football pitch is then just not big enough for a formal rugby or football pitch. These can be approval of the urban tree scheme adapt to preserve our sports services. We are not against trees. We have funding and planted around 30 park fruit trees in recent years. We have passed on views to Mr. Data of areas where trees could be added in addition to his proposal. The park has 3 ash trees with dieback which may need replacement. There's a formal community landscape scheme around Duke Street car park where two big trees would go. And just outside the park in the north are wide known grass verges adjoining Southern to the carriageway as you approach the Shell fuel station. Here he's trying to persuade the county highways that we will plant a cider apple orchard, so far unsuccessful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Howes. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak at this stage? In that case, I'll move on to the items on the agenda. First of all, apologies for absence. Councillor Packer-Hughes, Councillor Frassini, Councillor McConnell, Councillor Garside, and Councillor Gemma Evans. Now move to item 2 on the agenda, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest that councillors wish to declare? Thank you. And then we'll move on to item 3, the minutes.
Sorry, Chair, just on this, I did attach a fresh revision of the minutes from that was published on Thursday this afternoon, so we do have one decisions there. There's just a few minor textual amendments, formatting, and some spelling that were picked up. So the version that's on the decisions app in front of me is the final and correct version for approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcus. Do I have a proposer? Councillor Colasoli. A seconder? Councillor Judy Stainthorpe. I confirm that the wording of the motion is correct. Marcus? No changes now. All those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions? I confirm that the vote is unanimously carried. That brings me on to item 4, to the referral of the minutes. And this is to note the minutes and actions arising from the committees shown below. First of all, Planning, Development and Transport Committee as was. It's now Planning, Development and Licensing. On the 17th of April 2024. Any committee meetings referred to full council require approval. So do I have a proposer to accept those minutes of the Planning, Development and Licensing Committee? Thank you, Councillor Solly. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Tully. All those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions? I'm delighted to confirm that those minutes are carried. Brings me on to item 5, to receive any communications and announcements from the Town Mayor. Now, our Town Mayor, Councillor Vanessa Garside, is currently in Königslutter in Germany as part of our civic twinning visit. And I have a report from her, which I would like to read out. Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry I can't be with you, but not too sorry because I'm staying with the lovely Heidi and Heinrich in Königslutter, our twin town, and consolidating our twin friendship with our European neighbours. Since I took the role of representing Taunton, both as Deputy Mayor and now as Mayor, I've been so impressed by the amount of enthusiasm and positive energy we have in our beautiful town. which has occasionally moved me to tears. Since I last saw you, I went to the Nuffield Hospital 50th anniversary celebration. Dr. Marsh and I were given a really warm welcome by the management team, who are doing a wonderful job in maintaining the morale of their team. During the event, I planted a tree next to the magnificent oak in their garden, and we will celebrate the hard work of the many staff who are employed there. Later in the week, we attended the rebranding of the Abbeyfield Care Home in Bishop's Hull. This home is now called Heron House Residential Care and is entirely independent. I had the privilege of unveiling their signature artwork, a huge heron made of willow. I was really impressed by the creative approach towards caring, especially for dementia patients. The manager of the home is a very clever woman. The home has a joyful, playful atmosphere and has rightly been rated as outstanding by the Care Quality Commission, which makes it one of the top 3% in the country. I was also lucky enough to hear Taunton's Good Afternoon Choir and their guests, Taunton Ukulele Strummers Club. They were enthusiastically raising money for the maintenance of the Temple Methodist Church roof, a worthy cause indeed. On Friday, we were invited to celebrate the inauguration of Bridgewater's new mayor, Councillor Jackie Solomon, a lovely lady. We wish her well. On Sunday, I enjoyed a tour of Taunton in an open-top bus as part of the Vintage Bus Day organised by Thames Valley and Great Western Omnibus Trust. It was great fun for us all. I tried to persuade them to bring the buses back to Taunton every weekend, but was told other towns had served them too. On Monday, I was invited to Game Changer, who bring neurodiverse people together through games and gaming. These events help young people attain new skills and also socialise. I've never made so many new friends in 5 minutes before. They meet in the glass box in Taunton Library every Monday afternoon. This initiative is so successful, they now want to roll out this activity in the rest of the UK. I'd like to give a special shout out to Alex Rowland and Becky Wright for their magnificent enterprise, Game Changer UK. Finally, I bumped into Sam Reader from Aerosolar on a mission to make Taunton more beautiful, just or inspiring. How lucky we are to live in Taunton. And I'd just like to add to the Mayor's report, first of all, her final engagement, which she asked me to report on her behalf. The Mayor led a wreath at the Normandy Commemoration Stone in Ivory Park on 6th of June 2024, that's the D-Day commemoration. And then the dignitary travelled to Maidenhead Country Park for the Taunton Remembers D-Day 80 service and lighting of the beacon. The ceremony was held in association with Monkton Parish Council, West Monkton Parish Council. And I'd just like to report very briefly on my engagements, which I carried out on the Mayor's behalf. In the last few days, I attended the first anniversary of Bold and Brave, which is a part of the Young Somerset charity at Taunton Library. Young people, often with learning difficulties, operate the cafe at the library under supervision from professionals. I also attended an amazing performance of the Taunton Deane Male Voice Choir, and the choir included our very own bass bearer, Richard Venn. The singing was superb, by the way, and they had guests who were the charming Ilminster Bells Ladies Choir, and it was really a memorable evening. And that was held at the Minster. And finally, a charity team was organised by Macmillan, at which were present a Deputy Lord Lieutenant of Devon and several mayors and deputies. It raised a substantial sum of money for charity, and I was accompanied as acting Deputy Mayor's Consort by Councillor Bev Fernandez. And it really was a superb event. And that ends my report, and that is the Mayor. Thank you very much. I'd now like to move on to item 6, which is to receive any communications or announcements from the Leader of the Council. Councillor Tom Deacon.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Just two things from me today. First of all, just an update. Some of you may have seen reported in the local press regarding the Good Advance Bridge. We were informed by Taunton Council that that bridge is due to be removed in July this year, so in the next few weeks. As you may remember, we previously agreed as a council to undertake a topographical survey of the bridge before removal, and the timeframes for removal were slightly shorter than we may have been expecting. But I'm pleased to say that Marcus has worked absolute wonders and managed to arrange for that survey to take place before the bridge is removed, and that's scheduled, I believe, for the final week of June. So thank you, Marcus, for moving so quickly on that, and just wanted to let members of the public know that we will continue to keep you updated with our progress and council about any future steps that we can take to replace that bridge. Like that, I would just like to mention as well the D-Day commemorations and thank everyone in our team who were part of making those various events a success, starting at the Belvedere Library Park and then into the major country park this evening. It was wonderful to see so many people staying right to the end, right to the fireworks and the beacon lighting at the end. So a really successful event, and amazing to see partnership working actually between the town council and our neighbours in Jennifer's and West Monkton. And I think we should be looking at more of that partnership working around that time with our neighbours. So just a thank you from me to our team and everybody.
Thank you, Councillor Deane. We now move on to item 7, reports from chairs of committees. The chair of each council committee to provide an overview, maximum of three minutes, please, of the business conducted since the previous council meeting. So I'd first like to call on Councillor Solly, who's the chair of Planning, Development and Licensing, from the meeting on 23rd of May 2024.
Thank you very much. It's going to be slightly short, but we have a total of 21 applications and 1 licensing application as well. Really smooth, and just like to thank everybody on the planning committee. And back at it again for a free agenda meeting on Thursday and another meeting next week. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Solly. I'd now like to call on Councillor Ray Tully, who's the chair of the Finance and Governance Committee, which met on the 4th of June 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the committee met on the 4th of June, as you just said. Everybody else is in the report farther down, so I'll wait until then.
Thank you, Councillor Ray. That now takes me on to the final item under heading, are there any working groups who would like to report? Councillor Fernandez.
Thank you, Chair. It's really sort of the different groups that I spoken on. So there is the first of all, it's the Taunton LCA Young People's Working Group. We had a meeting on the 30th of May. Just I agreed to continue to be the chair for the next year. Just briefly, there's a mapping exercise being undertaken by the Somerset Youth Alliance to establish gaps in the aim of having a website for the organisations working with young people and how to contact and refer into those organisations. There's a drop-in event on Tuesday, the 18th of June at the Taunton Partnership College at Holway, entitled Want to Know What's on Offer in the Taunton Community. And this is aimed at parent and family support advisors, safeguarding leads, SENCOs and wider pastoral school and education staff, and those working with parent carers and youth organisation attending. And this has been organised by Andrew Pritchard from Connect Somerset and also the Taunton LCN team. The next meeting for that is in September. I also last Monday attended the Taunton LCN AGM in my role as the town council representative at the Minster. I believe obviously Councillor Beacon was there and Councillor Strauss. The turnout was it was disappointingly low, I found, but there was a lot of good feeling there. But I understand there was other meetings happening at the same time. But as well as myself, I just like to encourage anybody to attend, because it's not just for parish councils and town councils, it's for members of the public. And I think they'll be looking at ways of moving back further. We heard lots of testimonials, and the LCN local community networks provide opportunities for parish and town councils to have say on matters that are important to them. And on that theme, they are going to be setting up more working groups. And there will be, the first one of those is for the Taunton highways working group. So there is a meeting on Thursday the 11th, 20th, Thursday the 11th of July 2024, and that's going to be held here between 12 and 3, and invites are going to be sent out to town councils and parish councils to set up that working group, which I think that would be quite an important one for anybody with an interest in highways. The next LCA meeting is on the 7th of October, and just briefly, the last thing is the community review that is currently happening in connection with Community Council for Somerset. I believe Catherine came to the last council meeting. Survey topics have been circulated on social media, and they've had 2 sessions in the town centre, and I think it's the third one planned on tomorrow, Wednesday. I understand 200 responses have been received, which is great. And I just asked my fellow council members if they can circulate the survey amongst their groups. That'd be fantastic. And that's going on, I think, until June 17th. June 17th, Craig?
That's when we're going to take our review, and then I think we'll have another 7 days after that to do more of a poetry if we need to.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fernandez. I'd just like to add to that, the community review tomorrow in town is from 12 to 3. They have asked if any councillors could do a short slot. It doesn't need to be the whole time. You'd be most welcome. And I know Craig circulated details about that. So thank you very much. Councillor Ellis.
Just quickly, so the climate ecological action working group, we have now produced draft climate ecological emergency action plans that have been wending its way through the democratic process. And the arts and culture and tourism working group meeting next Thursday, 12:30 till 2. You're going to have to be on the working group to come along. So I've already pinged Councillor Clark because I'm close to interest. So if anybody else would like to come along, you're more than welcome, and I'll put details in.
Thank you, Councillor Ellis. I believe Councillor Smith-Roberts, I hand up.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm just updating in relation to the pop-up shop working group. We met earlier this week in relation to moving that forward. For those who don't know or for a resident who are listening online, that's about us taking on a unit and having businesses, charities, and other organisations use that area. The problem that we've got, which is a really good problem to have, is that we cannot find a unit that is suitable, because everyone that we go and ask if it's going to be available is then under offer. So that's a really positive thing for Taunton. I know you'll sometimes see people say on social media that there isn't, lots of shops here, but actually when you try and want to find a shop that has a big enough specification, particularly in the prime retail area, so in the centre, it's a challenge, but we are constantly beavering away, and Craig is on the case of trying to find a unit that suits our requirements. And so that's a positive step forward. We'll just keep people up to date as and when we find one. In relation to the toilet working group, we obviously made that decision at the last council meeting, which was only about 3 weeks ago, I think, to appoint the surveyor. We've got another meeting this week where we're looking to move things forward. What I will say is that we did agree to access the community fund. However, because of the general election being called, that community fund has stayed closed. So hopefully, once the 4th of July is out of the way, we'll hopefully be able to have that opened up and have access to that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Smith-Roberts. I would just like to add my thanks to Craig Stone, who I know has worked very hard trying to find suitable premises. You've actually reported back on certain premises on previous meetings, and it really is hard work from the sound of it, actually trying to find somewhere that we can actually make an offering, but we are keen to go ahead once we find somewhere.
I could just give a brief overview that the stewardship working group has met as well on the 24th of May with Councillor Stainthorpe stepping into the chair. So we had a very productive 2.5-hour meeting with Somerset Council. They were meant to have the developers there, but they apologised. So that was getting more with the detail about the developing estate. We asked some really tough questions. We can circulate the notes. I think I'm just waiting for them to be finalised, and then we can circulate them to all councillors and perhaps give a fuller update in due course to all councils. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcus. Councillor Julie Stainthorpe.
Thank you, it's just to add on to Marcus's comments there, there were probably more questions than answers. I think Lisa should be meeting a lot that will happen for developers, and the developers not being there. Obviously, the officer has to be the developer and they come back to us with more answers.
Thank you, Councillor Stainthorpe. Is there anybody else who wishes to say something under this item? Okay, thank you very much. We can now move on to item 8, which is reports from outside bodies appointees. Are there any updates from any outside body committees, please? Thank you. There are none. That takes me on to item 10, the forward plan.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, did you?
I'm so sorry.
Never was.
I do, Paul. I missed it. My humble apologies. Item 9, receive any reports or communications from Somerset councillors.
Thank you for giving me, I think it's 5 minutes, I won't take 5 minutes, that was fine. Just a few things that are happening in my part of, in fact, Caroline shares my district as well. We have in 3/5 of our district is in your town centre area. Firstly, fire damage in the High Street car park. It's on the upper floor, which is, I believe, currently shut. I've not checked today, but I'm in touch with Somerset Council Barry Lee there, who tells me that it should be reopened as soon as they've done inspections there. So I don't know if you guys have lots of complaints from people saying we'd like to park there and can't. So it is deleting this program. It's about 30 or 40 spaces there, which are no longer used. But that is in hand, and hopefully that will be open very shortly. North South School, just a couple of brief notes on that. I have organised a cake round from the Somerset Council to get the white lines replaced and extra signage saying that the school is actually there. So many motorists, and in fact, if you're local, you can drive past it without realising you've driven past the school. Of course, when 3:30 goes along, the quarter past 3 rather. It is very, very busy there with children. So the idea is to try and make the school highlighted to traffic. I have had a brief chat with Tom, but we're sort of in the process of discussing what perhaps can be helped from you guys with what it needs there to get people across the road is for traffic the old style warden that would take people across the road. And that's going to be difficult to solve. I think there's no other way of getting them across without a very expensive system going there, press button system, and that's not going to be available to us, unfortunately. So if we can find a way of sharing wardens for the crossing duties, I don't know if that's possible, but perhaps if you guys could give that some consideration, that would be terrific. A bit of a negative for you, it's not really your thing, but it is very much part of your area, is the High Street crossing at Library Park at the top of the High Street. It is very much in your area, obviously. I have had many complaints from traders and general public regarding cyclists, in particular cycling through the High Street. Obviously, this will now be a cycle way through the High Street. It's going to be very difficult that there's vehicles that use the High Street quite often, and so it's becoming a busy area, which is great news. But the concern is traders and public mixing with cars and bikes. Not good. It's not a good solution. I did bring it up when this was first announced, and effectively was blamed at Somerset with it. They told me I'm It's not a problem, there will not be any problems. The biggest issue really, I think, is when this is finished, it's cars coming in to access the top of the high street going everywhere. And then you've got people going across the lights, but when they're waiting, so where do people wait, where do the cyclists wait? It's a bit of a muddle, and I think it needs getting across. If you were mind to have a look at it and perhaps talk about it amongst yourselves and try and work out a way that can be done a little more safely. I was going to ask you about Goodley Starbucks Bridge, but someone's covered that. Just a question I would like to ask, which obviously please don't give me the answer in a moment. Will the surveys that you're taking part in, that stop the removal of the bridge? Because I do think it's a shame that it has to be gone, but or perhaps it could be repaired if they can find something. Not that way. So that at the moment, just an update on parking regulations. Belmont Road and Musgrove Road is in your area, so too are Belvedere and Albemarle roads. They have got traffic regulation orders on them now. These have been done by Steve Deane. I was going to say that long last time. I don't see if you're listening to this and hearing me say that. But it's good news that it doesn't mean these regulations which are much, in particular in the Belmont and Musgrove Road area, which Caroline and I share huge amount of parking issues there with the heart hospital. Unfortunately, now it does look as though it's going to come back fairly quickly. A couple of plugs, a thank you as well as the director of the Taunton Flower Show. A thank you for the £2,500 grant. It is very much appreciated by the show. And so that's just a bit of a plug for them, if I may. Tuesday the 23rd of July, we have a performance in the museum, or at the Museum of Taunton, at the open air performance. I know many of you came last time. It's Yearly Dragons, which is a sunset folklore with tales away. Thank you very much for your work.
Thank you, Councillor John. Always a pleasure to hear from you. I was going to come on. We have three twin active councillors here. Councillor Smith-Roberts.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I thought I'd just give a brief overview in relation to Somerset Council wearing my executive hat, and then I'll talk about Taunton East and what else is widely going on in Taunton from Somerset Council perspective. We had the annual general meeting of Somerset Council in recent weeks, obviously 22nd of May off the top of my head, and at that meeting we started the process of what's going through transformation and the efficiencies that need to be made, sadly, because of the financial emergency that Somerset Council finds itself in due to the demand on adult and children's social care. So those voluntary redundancies, I think to the tune of approximately £8 million, were sanctioned by the council. And that started the process of the transformation, again, that went through executive on the 5th of June, that will see, sadly, a significant number of jobs and services lost because of the challenges that the council faces due to being underfunded by central government. So I think in that regard, all I would say is that times are going to be tough at Somerset Council, and to really think about staff that are working there who are trying their best in really difficult circumstances, and that for residents that means that services will be harder because everyone's trying their best while they go through that process, because we're talking about real people who care about their community, who care about all of Somerset, that it's just difficult times because of those financial issues. So I think for us as councillors wearing both of the hats, it will be about trying to help our residents where possible. For those that can self-serve online through the website, or can serve themselves for Taunton Town Council as well, because obviously the pressure will be on our staff here, is just making sure that those that can help themselves, and those who can phone are then having less waiting times on the phone calls. I think when it comes to Taunton East in particular, that I represent on Somerset Council, I spend a lot of my time, and I even said this evening I went for a run before I came here, in my 2 hours between work and here. I do a lot of time logging casework for that area, and again it's for us hopefully to do so using the online facilities. We unfortunately had an unauthorised encampment in the area, and that led to a significant amount of fly tipping and waste that affected both Moorfields and Hamilton Park for Taunton Town Council. So it's about the cleaning up of that area. We've had some success with the patching of the road down on Priory Avenue. That's been a bugbear of mine, and they've used a new machine to fit that in to make that happen. And then you've also got, if you've seen it, the town bridge is coming along really nicely, having that painted. But actually, it's more than just the paintwork that is happening on that. It's a huge infrastructure project in order to secure that bridge on the road. And the next thing, because I know residents like to know, is that the lights are going to be replaced. So they aren't going to be left the way that they are. We don't look to do projects and finish them half-heartedly. It's a whole stage process that our contractors will follow. But it is a busy time. And again, it's just bearing with the council, because ultimately we're talking about real people, their livelihoods, and they do a really brilliant job in difficult circumstances.
Thank you very much, Councillor Roberts. Could I call on Councillor Caroline Ellis?
Switching hats briefly, mercifully briefly, hopefully. I won't repeat anything that anyone else has dealt with. There is an issue in Northland, it's a long-standing issue, but I was at a meeting with residents at the weekend where they were saying about the impact of antisocial behaviour around Deane House and Belvedere Road area on them. And it's very sobering when you actually hear firsthand the impact that it's had, including on young girls. And it's, yeah, so I'm going to be agitated about that, because it seems to me there's a lot of things that happen right under our noses and under the noses of the police that are not acceptable anywhere, but still less here, where you've got a lot of residents who are really, really badly affected by it. So I'm going to be agitating for some solutions to be put in place. Meanwhile, I'm urging people to report and log. Yeah, so that's very much on my agenda at the moment. Just to pick up on John's talk about Northtown. When I was a little girl, I went to Northtown School. There was to cross the road, there was a zebra crossing, and there was always a lollipop person around. And it really is quite gutting to think that it was safer for me to go to walk to school than it is for kids now. So I absolutely am determined that we improve things with kids at Northtown. It's not acceptable that they have to face, a few months back there was a kid that ended up under a car. So yeah, it's good news about the town bridge. People are very appreciative of that. People are more interested in good than God's bridge, but it will. I mean, obviously, the town council, yes, Somerset are going to replace it, but the town council, fortunately, it's definitely needs to be breached and doing more surveys and whatnot. So I'm hopeful that will come before us pretty soon. And just about the elections, people keep asking what the different deadlines are, and there's some press gone out about this, so that we all have to make sure people know that the 18th, it's a week to go, that's the deadline for voter registration if you're not on the electoral register. 19th, this is less the Ed looked it up for me. 19th is the deadline for post vote applications, and the 26th is the deadline for proxy vote and voter authority certificate thingies. When my passport ran out, when I was up for election last, I had to get on the voter authority certificate things. It was relatively straightforward, but I'm still risking the fact that people are required to have these things. Yeah, that's it.
Councillor Deane, is there anything you'd like to say in wearing your Somerset Council hat?
Yeah, just very briefly, three things in Taunton North, all highways related actually. So we're still chugging through potholes and road surfaces. We've been able to use similar technologies that used on Priory Road on Bottomton Drive, so get that up to a much better standard before resurfacing takes place next year. So that's a vast improvement. Still work to be done, but a vast improvement on what it was like before. Work around speeding, so I recently met with Nerrill's Primary School. They're concerned about Nerrill's Drive on the speeding in that area, so continue to work with them, the police, Somerset Council, and others to see what initiatives we can put forward to help sort of speeding in that particular area, and parking as well. So a couple of parking programs hopefully moving forward in the Wellesley Street area, where residents are going to be re-engaged again on their particular concerns. And in Eaton Crescent and Henry Way as well. And that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you. I think Caroline Ellis, you've got your hand up again, Councillor.
Sorry, I've got
got something kind of important. This is off the back of the successful campaign to get Taunton French River designated, make it a designated bathing water site. It's very important that we will help get the message out there that people need to take personal responsibility when swimming in the river. The whole point of getting designated bathing water status was the fact that people already bathe there a lot. And we always have people saying, you know, I want my kids to be safe when they're swimming there, they're doing whatever it is they want to do on the water. And the whole point was to ensure that the river, we get up-to-date information and testing of the quality of the river water, and the Environment Agency now are measuring, it's approximately every week in the bathing season, not quite, but pretty much. They're taking readings and they're particularly looking at bacterial harm to human health. And the first 3 readings did not make pretty reading, to be honest, albeit, yes, it was at a specific moment in time, Wednesday morning or whatever. So the message is to people to be really safe in their swimming. If they're going to go swim in the river, be really safe. And one key thing is when you've got those levels of bacteria, do not stick your head into the water. You want to swim like a mom swims, heads up. There are people who've been swimming their heads up for ages and they never have any issue. Where you have kids going and jumping in and submerging, you know, some kids almost like it's like they're drinking them, you know, they down, up, down, up. Not advisable at the moment. So it's really important that we spread messages around people taking personal responsibility, making informed choices. It's not just the quality of the river water as well. It's also about getting in slowly so you can acclimatise to the cold water. It's also about having layers of clothing, not swimming alone, and you know, making sure that your kids. It's really crucial that kids know about the risks, and it's all about risk assessment and taking personal responsibility. So that's just, I thought I'd just mention that because there have been kids might be into the river water when they've been submerging. Getting sick, and it doesn't affect everyone in the same way, but it's about sensible, taking personal responsibility and being informed.
Thank you, Councillor Ellis. Are there any other points that any Somerset Council would raise, in which case I shall move on now to item 10, the forward plan. I'm asked to ask you to note the plan. It's procedural, but I need a proposer. Mark, should I say a few words about it?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just a few words, as obviously this is a new item on your agendas in terms of we're hoping to have a forward plan on each of the council agendas and the committee forward plans for you to consider at meetings. So you get an overview of what's coming up. Obviously, you as councillors can request agenda items through the agenda item request form process. We will start to populate it more, obviously, with things like budget setting that we know are coming up through the year in terms of the cycle. It gives you an overview of the full council schedule for the year, and hopefully should lead to sort of agendas not getting too busy in future and allow us to plan a bit better. We're happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Councillor Alexander.
Thank you. Yes, just checking that it's still the standard sort of 7 days to submit something if you want something added to the full council agenda, and when will this full plan be sort of revealed as such? Like, you know, going forward with the next meetings, you know, how many days beforehand will we sort of get to see?
I mean, yeah, so the 7-day timeline still applies. I guess it's a living document. We'll be using it. So depending on, it will get attached to each full council agenda for you to know. But in terms of being aware of what's coming forward, I guess we'll have regular meetings with the chair and the leader of the council in terms of, as we regularly do, in terms of putting together the full council agenda. So if there is something that you want to bring forward, obviously the earlier the better, I would say. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Probably should raise under the minutes. There was a deferred item at the last full council about schedules of payments, which is on the forward plan. Is that coming back at a future meeting?
Thank Thank you, councillor Tuesday. Yeah, okay, yeah, that will be coming back to future meeting. It is on the full plan as TBC, I believe.
Is there anybody else who wishes to say? In which case, we will move to a vote. Have I got a proposal? Do we have to wait up together?
Meeting.
Okay, councillor Fernandez, and the seconder, councillor Smith Roberts. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? I declare that motion unanimously confirmed. I now move on to item 11, which is the Urban Tree Challenge Fund planting. And I'd like to ask Craig Stone to introduce this topic, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and good evening, councillors. Just before I introduce the report, I'd just like to introduce James Chapman, who's from the Somerset Council's Woodland Creation team at County. So following the presentation, if there are any questions, we do our best together to answer them. So with regards to the UTCF, there are three recommendations on the report. One of them is, the first one is members to consider and support the submission of a bid to the Urban Tree Challenge Fund and to adopt the tree planting proposals listed and developed in conjunction with Somerset Council. The second recommendation is our members to request officers to engage with park users and the friends of groups over the tree planting proposals. And the third recommendation is to delegate to the Community and Place Committee to oversee the progress of this funding bid and engagement with the Operations and Asset Committee, charged with the oversight of the installation and delivery in due course, subject to a successful bid. So if I just go through the report for you. So with regards to background, Taunton Town Council were approached by Craig Datos, who's a woodland creation officer at Somerset Council, about the Urban Tree Challenge Fund. And so the UTCF supports tree planting in urban and peri-urban areas and is administered by the Forestry Commission. It is funded by the Exchequer through the Nature for Climate Fund to plant more trees in and around England's towns and cities, delivering natural capital benefits such as climate change, adaptation, flood risk management, improved health and well-being, and urban biodiversity. So an initial assessment of a number of Taunton's parks and open spaces were visited, and tree planting proposals have been submitted for the following parks. And you can find the appendices attached to the report that details the parks and open spaces that have been assessed. If I just go into the implications on the corporate plan. So the project strongly aligns to our second priority in the council corporate plan of creating a sustainable environment, ensuring that we are responding positively to the impacts of climate change and looking to protect and improve the local environment for our residents and visitors. So since the declaration of our climate and ecological emergency, the Town Council had a priority for enhancing green spaces and exploring opportunities like this to help tackle our climate and ecological footprint. So the proposed planting plans for each site include the planting of predominantly native species, which will increase the species diversity of the urban forest across the town. In some locations, there is an opportunity to introduce non-native species, such as liquid amber and red oak, for their autumn colour. But these are limited in the number and coverage. To review species of proposed trees, you can see that in the Appendix J. I've also included a breakdown of the cost. So the capital expenditure will need to be undertaken in advance and then claimed back by the Forestry Commission once per year. So you can see the cost for the supply and planting of a single tree, which is £216.36 per tree. And we have the combined total number of trees being proposed as being 442. The total contributions actually reached £296,122.32. I have included in the report the anticipated claim and payment schedule. You can see that there. And I have provided a brief summary of the risks. So they will require weekly watering from April through to September, weather permitting, for 3 years to provide the strongest start for these young saplings. Consultation with park users and established rental groups who object to the proposals or suggest alteration to the proposal could be a risk. And the other risk is do not warrant funding being awarded from the Forestry Commission as a result of trees failing to take to their location. Any trees lost within the 2 years will need to be replaced at the maximum mortality rate of 90% by the end of year 3. The timescale involved in this, I think the funding application deadline is the end of June, so approximately 2.5 weeks. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Is there anything that Mr. Chapman would like to add?
Well, no, I think that's a comprehensive analysis of what we're doing. We've actually been committed to do resilience projects across towns all over Somerset, and I have to say the uptake has been excellent. And I think it's a project I can only see benefits for the people of Taunton. I think it's an excellent proposal. I think Craig Davis has got a very good plan together, which I hope is comprehensive and should be thoroughly understood by everyone. So I'm in full favour of it. So no, I'm really here to field questions. Should there be?
Well, thank you for your contribution. I'm now opening this up for discussion. Councillor Burns?
Yeah, just a couple of things. I mean, all sounds fantastic, because, you know, we need the lungs, we need trees as lungs, and I think it's good. A couple of things. Obviously, the recommendation is that the officers will engage with park users and friends of groups. Is there any leeway in those groups? Can they decide where the trees are planted? Because obviously I'm looking at the map and looking at the photos of the dots where all the things are. So is that set in stone, or can the groups, when you talk to the groups about it, will they be able to say, actually, we're not, rather those trees are planted in a different formation, a different place? Quite similar to what Mr. House was saying about the avenue. That's one thing. And the other thing is, will those young saplings have any protection around them? Because I'm just thinking, we had some young trees planted on Gallington Park a while back, and they were snapped by obviously young people should have got nothing better to do, and they were vandalised. So some of those trees were snapped, and I'm just wondering that, you know, these poor saplings, they need all the help they can get, and I'm just wondering whether they'll have any protection around them, if that's going to involve any extra cost. So yeah, thank you.
So in answer to the second question, yes, as part of £216, the cost associated with that also includes a lightweight metal guard. So they're fairly comprehensive. I think the trees on average will be standard trees. The height is very roughly 5 foot, and the guards I think are just over 6 foot, so they provide a little bit of growth. Okay. In answer to your first question, nothing at this stage is set in stone at all. And so what we've done, what Craig and I have done, we've looked at your park, at the various parks, we've carried out a survey of these parks. We come up with something which we believe is a reasonable suggestion. However, what we haven't done is engaged with your friends or groups at all. And I think it's absolutely essential that we do that. If they come up with ideas and proposals that are different, that's absolutely fine. What we would like to adhere to, wherever possible, is actually sticking to the number of trees. But again, even that is not really set in stone. So if in Victoria Park, for example, is decided the avenue that trees going across the middle of the park is not appropriate, and friends of the group don't want that, that's absolutely fine. So we have no real kind of feeling one way or the other about it. The tree wants to go around the side, for example, that might well end up being a better solution.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ellis was next.
Very strongly in favour of this. I mean, obviously, it's a key way in which we can meet our commitments in terms of tackling the climate and physical emergency. it would have so many benefits for residents in terms of being able to seek shade, in terms of biodiversity. I love the fact that we've got maybe, 90%, whatever you're proposing, native species of trees. My son is a rewilding fanatic, and I showed him the list of all the different varieties, and he was just a big, massive smile on his face. So it's a big thumbs up in that regard. So I think this is brilliant. I think this is absolutely what we should be doing, taking advantage of any opportunity to get funding, because doing tree planting properly does cost money, and it's not just the initial cost of the tree, it's the upkeep and the maintenance, which I see is kind of embedded in the urban tree fund application. So I'm very, very much in support of this, and I love the fact there's that flexibility to take into account local circumstances, because park users, they know that, well, as we've heard from Roger House, they have that level of knowledge, on the ground knowledge, to be able to say that, no, don't do it there, plant them here, or plant that there. So I think that would be great. Presumably then, will that happen before, when you put the bid in, does it have to be very, literally saying, how specific does it have to be? Sorry, yeah.
So I interrupted you.
No, I just wondered how does it, I'm just trying to, so there's the flexibility from your point of view, it's like everything is possible, so the numbers, is it just the numbers and the park area that we have to specify for the bid, or does it have to be any more detailed than that?
At this stage, we need to submit these details at the end of June, and all we need to submit is the total number of trees and parks where we're going to be allocated, and then the exact planting locations can be submitted at 30 days.
Just to say as well, if there's any community getting need council support, I'm sure that after the 4th of July, people will be very keen to kind of engage. It's been quite good. We've had been around Climate Action Taunton, who've been doing engagement around different walls and that. Parks are a really good place to do that. So I think it could be very positive. But yeah, so I think it's amazing, be an amazing benefit in terms of, places people to seek shade in, biodiversity, sucking carbon out of the atmosphere, win-win-win, thank you.
Well, you take the words out on that. In my experience with some of the real benefits of longevity and success of these schemes is that engagement. And as and when we sort of come about the planting process, the more engagement with the communities, the better. Not just immediately, but with regards to success, long-term success of the project. Yes, it's so important.
We've got 3 hands that went up: Councillor Tully, Councillor Smith-Roberts, and Councillor Deane, and to that Councillor Stapleton. So, Councillor Tully, please.
I can agree with the two of this. I have 1 or 2 slight problems. One, the amount of damage really budget to replace the cost of the trees. Now I know what this is like because I'm from Westmoreland, and in the Sunset Woods we have no problems. Numbers of trees there, they don't touch them. Single trees, they seem to enjoy breaking them. The other thing that concerns me is the watering. We've got a system in Westmoreland where we get people to adopt the trees. They look after and make sure they're watered. But these are in parks, which is not so easy. In that kind of locations, we're using a water bowser to do it. Now, we're obviously expected to all the watering, all the looking after the trees. You'll just give us the and say, there you are, now where we want to. Is that correct?
There's any partly right. So of course there's £151 per tree is given to you per year for 3 years. So that is what it will, £450 per tree to undertake that watering, that care. Yes, you're absolutely right. A tree is then advised, that tree will need to be replaced. But bear in mind, the replacement is not going to be £216 because of course we're talking about the replacement of buying that sapling. It is a risk and it's something we need to consider very carefully because 90%, we expect a 90% success rate of 442 trees. So it is a risk. The metal cage I described earlier, I suppose will go some way to mitigating against this problem. But no, we be more around the parks and Taunton as I had one. There are examples of trees that have been vandalised. But I can't help feeling that, with careful engagement with the community, getting the community involved and planting that again, might also mitigate against some of these problems with vandalism. But with regards to the maintenance, what we haven't done is we haven't got any sites at all where it's a few trees going. You can see the small number of sites we've selected. In each one, we've got about 50 or 60 trees being planted in a relatively small area. And so we feel that the water and maintenance of those can be done on the maps, which are obviously the same. And also, I should add, the main cost is water. If we pump them last autumn, you're not going to be doing any water at all this summer, right? I mean, the problem is probably the opposite. So, unless there's only when you have dry sun, that's where the water is, essentially.
Thank you very much. Councillor Smith-Roberts.
I'm really supportive of this in relation to what is being proposed, going after government money or grant funding in order to further what we can do as a council, and also tackle climate change, provide big fruit trees, I believe, are listed in here that helps people going out and something, or I'm trying to think the right word, but going out and getting their own food and foraging is really important. I think there is some other questions for us as a council to look at it. I think there is community engagement is good. We've seen from Victoria Park today, Roger House come along and talk. There are some parts that don't have friends groups, such as Hamilton Park. So talking to local councillors, both at Taunton and unitary level around that, because it was good to see, I think, with Amber in here in particular for that park, because that's one of the plans originally to keep the break of the horse chestnut trees or conker trees along there. I think for us as a council, we need to think about the long-term plans for, I know we've got replacement for 3 years of the money for the watering, but if these trees do get broken, do we have some money in the budget set aside just to replace that, so that we can build that into our finances? Because as Beth has said, we've seen it in multiple of our parks, that the trees do get damaged. I think there's something around an engagement of or education piece on this, so that when it comes to the planting, could we involve some of the local schools? So we've got schools that touch a lot of these parks, so that actually if you see ownership through family, then that sometimes prevents some of the antisocial behaviour. So I'm wondering if there's some form of piece around that. And I'm wondering also, and I'm not sure if there's money in the budget for it from the grant programme, but when I go out walking and I look at some of these trees, I don't really have a large tree or agricultural knowledge. I built it up as a councillor, but I go, I don't know what that tree is. My kids go, what is that tree? And I go, conker tree, I can tell you. But other than that, I'm not sure. So I'm wondering if there's some form of labelling or sign that we can also put alongside them, so that again, it's a bit like a free trail or something, because we're getting a good amount of money if we're successful in this. And there's something where we can take it to the next level and build on it with a Taunton Town Council branding or something like that.
Thank you very much. Councillor Deane.
Thank you. Lots of my questions have been asked by others, which is always a good thing. I'm supportive of us taking this on. I think it's absolutely what we should be doing now in green spaces. Some detailed questions, I think. So firstly, around the kind of grant funding itself, it's brilliant that we're getting grant funding. Who will actually be responsible for planting the trees and maintaining them? So will that be on our team, or is there a contractor or someone who will do that for us? If it's being outsourced somewhere, that's the plan. Are we confident that the grant funding per tree covers the cost that they will charge us to deliver that service? So we're confident that there's enough money in the grant, or is it slightly short and we would need to top it up? In terms of the budget overall, so because we need to put some funding in up front and then claim back, just a question about what budget line we're thinking we should take that from, for our officers to give some clarity whether we should take that out of reserves temporarily before we claim back, or whether there's another budget. I'm not sure if we thought about that. And my third question is about replacements. Because the total number adds up to 442, is the plan that we would hold some back to act the replacement, so not plan the full 442 to start with, or would we need to, as the council alluded to, have another budget to think about replacements where we need them So hopefully that makes sense. 3 questions. Thank you.
The first question, if you answer to, that would be your responsibility to find a contractor. Okay, or if you volunteer groups. We could recommend certain contractors, no, we couldn't recommend contractors, we have listed contractors. In with respect to the cost of, I've personally been involved in quite a few schemes like this, and I think this scheme is relatively generous. And so I would be surprised if it cost you as much as £216 a tree to plant. If you planted 1 or 2 trees, yes, I think it probably wouldn't be enough money. Because of the numbers, I think it stacks up really very generously in your favour. And what I would expect to happen is that when you complete the scheme and you put your retrospective plan in, I think you'll be very pleasantly surprised about money that might be left over to sustain future planting or different project in future years. So I think the US relatively sure that so yeah, was there another question? No, I think the other one I think you need to discuss perhaps in 10 minutes.
We've got councillor Staples, councillor Twos, and councillor Ellis.
Question about the budget.
Yes. Okay.
So just in relation to the budget, there is 25,000 that's been put in for an EMR for trees in this financial year, so that will be carried on for the next few years as well.
Is that enough?
That's enough for maintenance and replacement of any trees that we might need to replace. But in terms of the money that we would get before we get the grant back, that would have to come from general reserves.
Okay.
But that's just cash flow. Yeah. That takes us on to councillor Staples.
Thank you, Deane. Yeah, James, this is probably I don't know how easy the question is would be to answer. I think the trees are a fantastic initiative. But one concern I have is the long-term management. Everybody knows short-term management of young trees is really important, and that's the most costly piece. It's the first 3 years. But longer-term management of trees are important. And certainly going forward, I'm responsible for, I get a large number of complaints about older mature trees. And something for the council to consider is cost of management of those trees. And today I've got an email from a lady who's going to try and get a tree maintained close to her house. She's on council property. They're very expensive, and getting the tree settlements is not cheap. So it's not necessarily the initial plan is wonderful, but I don't think it's something you can answer because I think it's within the council. But we do have to think about long-term management of 442 trees. That adds to a lot of our trees in Taunton. We want one, but we need to make sure we can manage them, or we could end potentially up with lost complaints from residents concerned about the one today. She's concerned that the plants are living involved into our garden and into our car. So it's how we manage the longer term plans as well.
I can't fully answer that question. However, what I found is, as you pointed out, the first 2 years getting established, that's no problem at all. What we've then found is you have a grace period, which is probably about 20 years before any maintenance needs to take place. So please bear that in mind. A lot of studies have looked at the actual real cost benefits of having a tree in the urban environment. And the statistics are quite mind-blowing and reduced crime, as well as ecosystem services and so on and so forth. Yes, and answer your question, it's a very real cost. It will be a very real cost of having to get tree services somewhere along the line to maintain some of these things, probably. But I find like the actual cost, people sort of completely outweigh the costs of the sort of maintenance.
Thank you very much.
Great, details respond.
Craig wants to respond.
Thank you, Chair. I was just going to add the fact that we have currently around about 1,300 trees across our parks and open spaces. We carry out annual inspections on ash trees, and our standard trees are inspected once every 3 years. So
And it just means that we need to make sure you manage that.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Craig. That brings me on to councillor Twos was next.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. As I've been very supportive of this, thank you for putting the report together and the work you've done thus far. Very pleased to hear that you'll be engaging with the community groups, etc. Just while I remember with my trustee of Priorsville Community Centre hat on, it would be great if you could approach Leslie at the community centre, because we have some events on that field just to, so she's aware where the trees are planted and stuff. That would be great. Just because I have a very urban ward, I know the reasons why you stated already they're all in the park, but are there other plans with the unitary or the council to look at what I would call proper urban areas that aren't in a park, or is that just too finicky and we can't do that? So the reason these sites were selected, because there was a mapping exercise done by the Forestry Commission, and they looked at areas that are considered to be deprived areas, areas of urban deprivation. Okay. So all of these parks fit within those areas. And there's a scoring system. So additional points have been given regards to proximity of schools, some sites, and doctor surgeries and medical legal sites, hospitals. So these things are chosen. Now, that's not to say others have been perhaps committed. There are one or two other places where it is indeed we think scoring could be suitable for the trees. But that could be a project that has some further down the line. And also, the cost we've mentioned already, £216 a tree. That's perfectly reasonable for planting a tree or a grassy vine. If you're digging up pavements for tarmacs or this sort of thing, there's absolutely no way you can do that. I was looking at a survey done by Leicester City Council recently there, but the cost per tree in the middle of the city centre there is more in range about £10,000. So it's completely difficult.
I was going to stop it now. As time is going on, I've got 4 people who put up their hands, and then I think we'll move to a vote. So we've got Caroline Ellis, we've got Robert Answich, Ray Tully, and Councillor Solly. So, Councillor Ellis.
Yeah, I had a question, a couple of questions, I forgot to ask them around. So you mentioned the report, Craig, but there are other opportunities. There's the LATF funding is mentioned in the, I think. So is there another, will there be other projects that we can collaborate in coming forward?
LATF funding would be suitable for this. The LATF funding, I believe, is £2.30 per tree. Okay, so it's hard to check much. There's funding places where that could be suitable. Some of the working project, which would work very well. It's a very, very dense woodland environment, but we're not going down that path quite at the moment. However, having said that, there's no suggestion that this current round of funding is going to disappear immediately. It seems there's plenty of money in the pot, and it might well be, if this is successful in a year's time, come back to us and say, look, and now these other sites, can you now consider those?
Can I have another question? Because this came up when we were meeting as the climate and political working group in Taunton. We had a presentation from Trees for Streets, which is a national organisation, and many local authorities around the country have signed up. So this is a way for residents where they have a street which is suitable, where they would like a tree, they can log this on the Trees for Streets website, and then there's a liaison with the local council, and it's a way of people contributing to the cost, some of it anyway, and also volunteering to look after and water the tree. And there's a lot of interest in this because it's a kind of bottom up. It's a way of actually enabling people to make change in their own, literally in their own street. But the cost, I think, for it, if we were to sign up as a town council, the cost of just subscribing to the service would be like £8,000 a year, and it's mainly like municipal authorities that sign up. So there would be a question of, it would make more sense if different town and parish councils banded together to fund Somerset becoming part of Trees for Streets. Would that be something that if somebody wrote you about it, you would at least look at? Because it seems to me there's a very clear rationale here, and it would bolster the whole, tree canopy and the tree culture that we would want to bolster that massively. Will it give people another way of actually supporting broadening our tree canopy?
Yeah, that's definitely something to consider. Yeah.
Thank you. The last three contributions, then we'll move to a vote. So councillor Isaacs, please.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Tully himself, we had quite a great involvement with the main road country park. Having planted the trees, there's some 4,000 trees gone in already. 13,000 total will go in. Other than using contractors, would it be possible to use volunteers, like a lot of the trees have been planted in that to save costs? Yeah, we would encourage you to do that, because that would also, Councillor Roberts that said that would be a lot of local engagement as well. We can engage people to do that. We're quite, as to tell you myself, the organiser of that for the country park, and I think you'd be able to please do probably lay that out and get involved with that. Well, certainly I've seen that. I think planting there is done to a very high standard. I think it's great. Yeah, yes, we encourage that, and I think the reasons you described earlier, I think if you can achieve that, I think actually would probably enhance the long-term success of the trees. Yeah, a very good thing. The only thing obviously you have to watch is there can be a lot of enthusiasm, but the skills involved in the skill levels are there, and it can go wrong. I think the enthusiasm has been there for several years now, so it's gone off, and it is very well managed.
Councillor Tully.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just a thing, the country park, I think we've lost some pretty trees in it over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
We lost more with the developer than we've actually taken out. That was not true. That's perfect.
And that brings me to councillor Solly.
Can I finish?
Sorry, I thought you had. Well, of course, carry on.
You said you're going to put in nature trees, so we're looking at oak and that type of thing. And I just want to question about the chap who was here, and I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I forgot his name. But he asked why you're not putting in orchards. Now, in Westmonton, that would be high in some areas. It's where Sunset is a side county with old tile orchards. Are you prepared to do something like that? Because my ward has got Hampton Park. There's an area there which may ideal for maybe not for an orchard of some sort.
We're very happy to put futurism. We're more than happy there. And some of our projects, not on this particular scale, but we'll put in exactly those sort of trees. And so, our species list makes a recommendation. If you say, well, actually, in this park or elsewhere, fruit trees would be more suitable, that's absolutely fine. They will be covered by the scheme. Thank you.
And finally, councillor Solly.
Just as a summary, in my opinion, to be part of this is massive for us as councillors. When you go to the parks, you see massive trees above you, and you go anywhere in the country, you see massive park, massive trees. This is what we're going to be doing. And I think, to be honest, it's cementing the future for future generations to come. It's a massive impact. So, any issues. So yes, yeah.
I just wanted to observe this created a huge amount of enthusiasm. I'd just like to thank you, James, for your contribution and for answering our questions in such detail. As I say, thank you very much. And I now move to a vote. So, do I have a proposal? Councillor Ellis, do I have a seconder? Oh, it's the tie. It's Councillor Clark. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Delighted to say that the proposition is unanimously confirmed. That brings me on to item 13, the internal audit. Now call on our town clerk, Tom Smith, to introduce the topic. Oh. I've been informed that Councillor Tully is going to introduce us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry about that. Right. Can I say something before we start?
Yes.
A lot of people think that when these reports come to this council, that's what it comes down to, and there's no question being asked. What we've done here is this is done by committee. Anybody can join and see that committee. There's nothing stopping it coming to this or watch us online and see exactly what is going on. So all we do tonight is I will recommend or not recommend whichever I want. And the council will either accept my recommendation or they won't. Right, I'll go on. Right, the first thing will be, you've got me before, unfortunately. Sorry.
Sorry?
4 items.
4 items, yes. This, we're now talking about item 12 at the moment.
Yes, first thing, item 12, which is in the internal audit. The committee reviewed this on the 4th of June, and it's our recommendation that the council accepts our recommendation. That's correct.
Do I have a proposal? Thank you, councillor Furman. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Solly. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? I declare that proposition unanimously confirmed. We now move on to item 13. And it's Donna who's going to introduce this topic. But this is now been dedicated. Well, it says on the agenda, but I gather it's now been dedicated to the chair of the Finance and Government Committee, Councillor Ray Tully. Do carry on, please.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. We actually spoke about it. Right, the next item is the annual return, which has to be put in each year. They have to be, so I get it straight away. The returns which end in the 31st of March this year. Again, it was brought before the Finance and Government. We looked at it, we scrutinised it, and now I'm recommending whatever the committee said that we accept and we process with the council.
Are there any questions? Silence. Okay. So I now need a proposer. Councillor Stainhill, a seconder. Councillor Fernandez. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? I declare that resolution unanimously confirmed. That brings me on to item 14. Is it 14 or 13? 14. 14. Yeah, again, Councillor Tully.
This is the second section of the annual report for the year, again for the year 1st of March 2000. I get this right, it said 23.
Yeah, so it's the annual return for 23-24.
And I believe this one has to be signed, doesn't it? If it's agreed.
They all need to be signed and we've got them here.
It's been scrutinised by our committee, and I propose that we put it on the council.
The first thing is, do I have any questions? Silence once again. So, do I now have a proposal? Thank you, Councillor Furman. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Stainville. All those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions? I declare that resolution unanimously confirmed. We now move on to item 15. Councillor Tully once again. Thank you very much.
This is the period of the public rights, which is the time that the public can see the documents, and then they are after that anybody wants to ask within the right to. This we again recommend to the council. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Tully. Do I have any questions? And I'll move to opposition. Do I have a proposal? Councillor Isaacs, do I have a seconder? Councillor Ellis? All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? I declare that resolution unanimously confirmed. Thank you very much, Councillor Tully, for all your hard work. Councillor Isaacs.
Could I just make a point there, and well done, for everyone. But just the statement that Ray said earlier, that we do get all communicated to all the minutes and all the meetings that they go, so that not just the committees that are making the decision.
Yeah.
All council members get full papers and can ask questions from there at any time. Just remember, observing.
Indeed, Councillor Isaacs, thanks for clarifying. That brings me on to item 16, which is access to information. Oh, I'm so sorry, Councillor Tully.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. And much as I like to be praised for all this, it's the committee that does it, not me. It's their hard work that's been more important. So I think that.
Thank you for being so magnanimous. Somebody has to coordinate it all, and you have done a very good job, Chair. So we're very pleased you're doing the job great. So that brings me on to item 16. I recommend that under section 100A4 of the Local Government Act 1972, the public be excluded from the terms of business, agenda item 24, on the grounds that it involves a likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraph 3, respectively, of part 1 of schedule 12A of the Act, namely information relating to the financial or business affairs of any particular person, including the authority holding that information. So I've made the proposition. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Furman. All those in favour?
I've got a question, if that's okay.
Yes, of course.
I have no problem obviously on tonight if we need to go into confidential session. I'm wondering if there is something moving forward where we try where possible to keep as much in a confidential appendix, so that actually we can debate as much as possible in public session, and that we take a decision in public session where possible, so that actually not all of the item is in confidential. Otherwise, I just think it's not showing the public everything that's happening. So I think there's some elements, especially I think on some second paper, that in necessity of mind, actually we probably could debate it, if that makes sense. But if that's where we are for this evening, it is where it is, but it's just something to consider moving forward, to be as open and transparent as we can be.
Would we have to have a debate about this at a future council meeting to make a decision on that?
Yeah, we can look at each item going forward as to what can go onto the agenda and what can.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. I think that's good, because as much as we can legally bring into the public domain, the better. So thank you very much for raising that. So I've made a proposition. I now need a seconder. Councillor Furman, all those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions? Declare that motion unanimously confirmed.